Support Pro Play Games on Patreon.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Danny G coming to you with the boys. We got some DigiFest commentators here. We got the boy Yadam. We got Max Tapera, TrueChampionSteven, and Luisthepanda. Sadly, Huang Zero wasn't able to make it out today. He had a very tight schedule, so it's just gonna be us just talking about DigiFest, random stuff. This is the inaugural. Bad at speaking English. This is the first episode of the Royal Knights podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic, Danny. How's it going for you guys?
Going good. Doing a little post-breakfast talk with y'all about Digimon and whatever else. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. As Yadam would say, we are gaming out here.
Let's
Absolutely gaming.
All right, guys. So, DigiFest just happened in two locations, Texas and Miami. We had, I think the only other big kind of in-person event was Gen Con last year. And then it just jumped to DigiFest. So, I didn't make it out to Gen Con. So I know Max made it out there. What do you think was like kind of like the difference?
Oh, the amount of people, like easily. When we went to Gen Con, I think each event was, I want to say, a little over probably like 60 people. And I thought that was a lot for another in-person event since we were still like kind of coming out of the pandemic. But obviously I only went to Miami, but the attendance just blew Gen Con out of the water. Like absolutely. It was insane how many people were in that room.
Yeah, so I went to DigiFest, Texas last year, which is the exact same center, the exact same people running the event. And we had like 100 players. And then DigiFest, Texas, we had like the full 512. So yeah, for sure. Like it was just a way bigger scale.
I'm not sure if it's like the game has just blown up, or it's like people are feeling more comfortable to come out of their homes, like now that we're getting to somewhat of a normalcy. But there's been a huge jump. I remember what the first PPG event I went to was like last year in Washington, and there was, how many players you played in that, Danny? I think you ended up like second. How many players were in that?
It was like so Otakon specifically, I don't know how their tickets work, but like there was like 12 18 players,
and for 12 to 18 to 500
like at the beginning of set 5.
Let's go.
Yeah, and Max was talking about like a 60-person event being big. That's like when Store Championships were going around in California. That's how many people would show up to probably compete, and then to be told, "Oh, sorry, we can only let 32 people in this store today." So we didn't think we'd get 60.
Yeah, there was like I remember when the Store Champions, well, at least, I came into the game starting, BT4, and like when it was Store Champion time, it was like people were waiting outside the door to like get into the store to be in part of that 32 player. Yeah.
And now we have just like, hey, now the line is 512. Let's see if we'll hit that. Oh, we did. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So funny thing,
you should people that wanted to play, but it was sold out. So like they could have easily done way over 500.
Oh, the wait list for Texas. I think I talked to the TO that was running it, John. He said it was like 150 players.
That's insane.
And like some of them showed
wild.
up thinking that they would make it, and then they said, "Oh, you can't." But hey, you know what? You were allowed to come in, so you guys can come for day 2 if you want. But then they didn't.
At least they got. Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
But then they didn't. They just went home.
They just dipped. Yeah.
Because those were Texas natives, so they're just like, I'm just gonna drive home, I guess.
Oh God bless. Yeah, no, I think I tried to like the week before DigiFest Texas. I figured like, oh, I actually have this weekend off. Maybe I can like slide to last minute plane trip to Texas, whatever. I looked at all the information. It was totally plausible, and then I saw, oh, by the way, wait list over 100 players, and I was like, well, this is impossible.
I think Texas sold out like instantly.
Hour 3, they sold out instantly.
Yeah, I did not know. I never checked because I didn't think I was gonna go.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but as soon as they open up registration, I just signed up for both Miami and Texas. Like before I knew what was gonna happen, I'm just like, I'm instantly doing both no matter what.
I'm the exact opposite. I had no clue I could even go to both, and then I was able to clear it with work that I could go to both.
Exactly. See, I have to think about those things, Lewis. You're just
Imagine
too OP.
having
Oh.
a job.
I report to a higher power, good sir. You only report to Garurumon and Mastamon as your king and
True,
queen. I
true.
report to actual human beings.
Yeah, apparently, dude.
A big thing about the like a really, really big thing about the reason Texas sold out first is honestly just because Miami was crazy expensive. I'm not gonna lie. It was just an unfortunate situation.
Because there was
that-
another event there.
Imagine hosting
Florida, right?
DigiFest when
Yeah.
in Ultra Weekend, by the way. Like,
and isn't it
Yeah.
also spring break?
it's one of the
Yeah.
spring break weeks, so and it's Miami, so like, I don't even imagine. I can't imagine what the hotel prices were, but like they must have been
They were yikes.
a
They
little
were
spicy.
yikes.
Yeah, I can
Let's
Because I
imagine.
just
stayed at
say
the
if my
venue and it
uncle
was
didn't have a
gross.
casita that I could stay in, I wasn't going to Miami. Let's just say that.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
Steven
right,
with the
you were staying with-
connections.
yeah.
Nice.
Mi familia, they got my back.
that just
True.
kind of shows also the like people have just been waiting for in-person events to the point that they paid premiums on double premiums to Miami just to play Digimon in person and meet all their friends maybe that they've met through Discord and meet their favorite YouTubers. And like, how is it meeting all your fans? I know, Lewis, you're probably paying for a lot of people's colleges after the showdown. And Steven and Max, you know, you guys, Steven and Lewis went to both events, so they were able to meet a lot more fans. And then Max came over here. Like, how was it meeting, like, you know, everyone in person, feeling like you know, obviously like a huge celebrity, just pictures everywhere, and like just the whole like thing.
So I
I
just want
think
to start
the-
off by saying that, Lewis, I've never asked you for any money, and I feel like that should be rewarded in and of itself. That out there. But I will say that in terms of what was interesting about Miami specifically was I was there in a different capacity than I was in Texas. I was a commentator in Texas and a player in Miami. And I remember telling all the people that said they wanted to meet me in Miami, be like, okay, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. You don't want to see me in Miami because that means you're probably going to catch the hands. And I want you to have good memories of meeting me and not catching the hands. Right. So I remember being like joking with people about, oh, you don't want to see me in Miami. And that just made more people try to find me in Miami than I felt happened in Texas. Because I feel like in Texas, I had people come up because they were just so excited. And that was great. But then in Miami, I had people come out of their way to kind of find me as I was playing and stuff, which wasn't really happening in Texas because I think they knew that I was there in a more professional capacity. You know, I was helping the production team run the stream and I was a part of the stream team for the broadcast. And so they're like, oh no, he's busy. When in reality, I was way less busy and had more free time in Texas and was more than happy to meet everybody. And in Miami, I was like, I'm going to time every single round playing Yellow Hybrid. I don't have any free time on day one. And then day two, the freaking gunslinger grind was crazy. And I had to just like go. And I felt like I couldn't really talk to anybody until after I got everything done. So it was interesting because like people wanted to see me in Miami and I felt like I was distracted, but people didn't want to bother me in Texas, even though I was like, please bother me. I'm here for you. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it was kind of the same thing. I think the coolest part about the events is just, you know, meeting everybody. And for me, it's funny because people know me from so many different things. So, for example, walking into Texas, I wasn't sure if people were going to recognize me from the showdown. And then so many people were like, wait, are you the guy that won 10K? Are you the guy from the showdown? And I was like, yeah, that's me, you know? Or like people would come up and be
guy.
like, oh, are you the guy that like, you know, did the Jarshan event or whatever, right? Like, so people recognize me from different stuff. When I got to Miami, people were like, oh, you're the guy that got third place at Texas, you know? So it's funny the different ways that people could recognize me, even to the point where like, if you guys know, I have a background from another card game called Shadowverse, and I actually had quite a few people that went up to me at Digimon or either one and recognized me from my Shadowverse work. So it was
And then,
cool to be recognized by.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, but like PBG and Miami is like your locals. So like
Yes.
how many local people you're just like hanging out with? You're like, oh, I just know these guys. So like, it's good to see him here.
Yeah, so at Texas, I was actually the only one there from Miami, except for George. But George was playing Dragon Ball, so we were like not close to each other at all. So I was kind of just there with myself, meeting people, and it was fun. And at Miami, like I was working the event, But everybody knows me here, so it was cool. But we still had a lot of people come up to me from whatever reason. I really enjoyed that. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and like also a funny thing. Since you said you started step 4, and I know you guys don't know Lewis maybe because there's a YouTuber down here called Dorgatron Prime, and then when Yadam started off playing the game, he was playing.
God bless.
Yeah, we're playing. He was called through the YouTube comments bad yellow player, and then any deck he played, he would be referenced as bad color here player. So like everyone, we started the game either from the beginning before it came over here, or just like whenever we started, and we have this progression of where we were and where we are now. How do you guys feel about that, especially in the mindsets you guys go on to future sets?
I'd like to address bad yellow player.
Whoa, hang on. If you need a white knight, hold on, hang on, I got you. Hey, to that guy.
No, I don't need a white knight. It's
all right,
cool.
all right,
No,
all right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate
You
it.
chill.
Because what I wanted to say was I was horrible when I started the game. And that's fair, right? You start a new game and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be playing this game for fun or competitively. You know what I mean? Like at some point in time, I had, started a new job. I quit all card games, sold all my card stuff. And then Danny, as well as Tristan, all these other players from down here really started pushing Digimon. And they were like, guys, let's play this game. It's super cool, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fine, I'll play because my boys are playing. But I didn't want to invest and I didn't want to look at the sets. I just wanted to grab cards and just like evolve stuff, Eventually, I was like, fine. The competitive side took over and I'm going to try to play this game. So the first video of me playing like a competitive deck was on Tristan's channel, which was like War Greymon. And it wasn't even my deck. It was Danny. Danny was like, here's the best deck in the format. Good luck. And it's me getting bodied by Danny and making a bunch of terrible plays. And the whole comment section was like, dude, what the heck? And once I rewatched the video, I was like, dude, what the heck? And my initial response,
you commented on yourself being like, yeah, this is a bad yellow player. Oh my God.
Well, like, I was, like all the cards look this like pretty similar to me. And by all the cards, I mean the bunnies, like, the level 4 bunny and the level 5 bunny.
Yeah.
I was evolving like the 4 on top of the 5 and it was a mess, man. But I took that as a like, guys, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna get better, and I'm gonna keep, working on my gaming. And it's really cool coming from that point to like now, like I'm hyper analyzing blue mirrors and being like, well, if he has these specific 6 cards in his hand, then he can out, So it's really interesting to see where you can come from to where you can go, as well as like where the game started like a year ago, and we're already having people like, like Lewis commentating like official events and like having people go to nationals, all this stuff. So it's crazy how much can happen in such a little amount of time. Quiet.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about that, especially like having Steven here, who is like the pioneer in like Digimon content.
I wouldn't say that. I did start basically like a couple months after the game came out. And my start was interesting. It was 2 years ago, probably coming up on 2 years now. I remember hearing talk of the Digimon TCG, and I'm a Digimon fan. I've played older versions of the Digimon card game, like the Digimon Fusion, the Digimon CCG. I never played Digimon Digital Card Battle or whatever that's called back in real life because I was like 2, so obviously. But and then it died like on arrival. But I think what happened with me specifically was I was into, Vanguard Zero, trying to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Later that year as well. And I just was like, I have all this free time because I recently graduated college. Coco ruined all plans of travel and slowed down any work progression that I could have career-wise after college. So I was like, I just got free time, no expenses. What am I going to do? I'm going to play card games like I've always done. And then a friend of mine, his name's Bob, he showed me the Digimon card game, and I was like, oh, that looks sick, but it's in Japan only. I'm not going to play that. And then I was like bored, like in May or something. And I was like, you know what, let me like look up some videos or something about it. And I'm like, oh, dude, this game is cool. I remember the first deck that actually like caught my eye was a yellow /Andromon deck. And that's why he's my favorite card, because he's literally the reason I play this game. And then I spent the next 2 months, I think, just like learning the rules. I haven't picked up a single card online or real life. I haven't played a game. I built a purple deck because by the time I was committed to playing, set 2 had come out, purple had come out. I thought it was the best deck, played it in a tournament, and then got second place. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm kind of good at this game, apparently, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. So maybe I should work a little bit harder. And I was making YouTube content at the time for Vanguard Zero and Vanguard. And a big theory I always had, and I still have when it comes to making good YouTube content, is just document my experiences and things. And so I just made videos talking about the decks I was playing, how I've been enjoying the game. And that just kind of led to being like, oh, there really isn't any like English Digimon content, even though I know there's this big community of English players that play the Japanese version of the game online. Maybe I can help more people get into the game. Then I made some basic videos on like how to play, building your first deck, got deeper into it, started playing more tournaments, becoming more competitive. Game got announced for localization. People want to play it. It's crazy cool, crazy popular, growing. I grow, they grow. It's great. So I wouldn't say I pioneered anything. I would just say that I was enjoying the game. I documented myself enjoying the game, and people that also wanted to enjoy the game found me through that. And that's all that matters.
The real question is, are you bringing back the Slash Andromon?
Well, I do own like 15 plus of the alternate arts now, so probably.
Wait.
Oh yeah, is actually crazy. And then, you know, now, especially after DigiFest, we're seeing a big possibility in more in-person events. Hopefully this year, maybe next year, definitely next year, but hopefully this year we have a lot more. What do you think about that? Like, how do you think the price support needs to be insane for people to come out to an official event like this?
I think not.
Like
I don't think
fly
at
out
first. I don't think at first. I think eventually it'll get to that point, because it's like, why am I going to travel like across the country all the time just for like a case tournament? I think people right now might, of course, Lilith is a huge draw, but I think at this point people just kind of want to play and meet all their friends that they met online. But as time passes, I think prize support will be a bigger draw.
I mean,
I feel like
think
for
I'm
all
gonna
the
agree with.
online regionals, they've always made it worthwhile to join. So I think the event itself right now, like Max is saying, is the reason that you would go. And I hope that Bandai looks at both DigiFest and they think that it was a great success, and they're like, let's just do more of it.
I mean, personally, I've heard so many accounts from so many people saying how much they enjoyed DigiFest. Like, I've been to a lot of in-person events in the past, but nothing like 500 plus players, like technically still in a pandemic type of situation.
Yeah, same.
And all of this going on. And it was really impressive. Everyone was super happy to fly down and just like meet people and play in person, because it's been so long since we can just sit down and do that. That's like one of my favorite parts about card games. Like, it's not about the prize support. It's not about the shiny cardboard. It's not about any of that stuff. More than anything, at least to me, is like you get to sit down once a week, maybe twice a week, and play with some friends. Like, forget about other things and just focus on like a hobby that you guys have common interest, which I think it was really cool to see so many people in one room. Like, hey, Lewis, let me take a picture. Hey, TrueChampSteven. And I remember like I was trying to get a game with TrueChamp, and I wanted to get a full match because he bodied me. And it was like I couldn't. Everyone was like, I got next game. And there was like lines to play Max and Steven and Lewis. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just sit here. No worries.
And the thing I want to like add on to that is like, what's crazy, and I've always had this take that, you know, remote dueling or remote games of Digimon or any card game for any TCG has been an amazing thing to keep these communities not only alive, but I think thriving, actually, because it's a really like new part that is just normalized now. Now we can truly just play games whenever we want to, which is nice. But you're never gonna replace the camaraderie, the debauchery, the intensity that comes from the feelings you get going to an IRL event. Now, when I say intensity, I also mean there's some bad stuff that can happen too, like going X and 9 in real life hurts way more than it does online. You know, I can't just like take a nap after going X4 and eat a sandwich. I got to like just stay in the venue and walk around still and be like, all right, next round's queuing up, you know? The way I always think about it is like remote fights are the perfect medium. You know, the highs and the lows are super minuscule, but it keeps you going. It keeps you enthralled in the community. And then these big like regional DigiFest events or whatever, these IRL tournaments, they're the extremes, man. They're where you feel the best and the worst sometimes when it comes to these events. And most of the time it's always positive because the people you go with, what you're doing, that's what matters most. And whether or not your outcomes or your results speak to what you wanted for the event, that usually just, you know, is a, you know, self-reflection / like motivation type thing for getting better / staying where you are in the game. But it's, I think, irreplaceable. And now that we finally have it back, people are starting to realize that, and they're getting the adrenaline. They're like, I want it again. And I think the coolest thing that Bandai could do is kind of like what they did with the World Championships, which just wrapped up, which is start a competitive season and have the online regionals that we had in like, what was it, like October or something of last year, have them in real life this time, and make that like the new special thing that we're going to have this year.
Honestly. That would be fantastic. Personally, like a big thing about, I mean, with me at least, I just like in-person events. So obviously, because of, as Steven said, Coco, we just couldn't do anything besides these online events. And online events, I never really vibed with, specifically because like, even though like you were having your games go on, you couldn't, after you were done, whether you win or you lose, I couldn't go find my friends and be like, yo, how'd it go, guys? Or like, if I'm having a friend play a game, I can't like just sit there and watch him and see how it's going for him, which I really like. That's what I really enjoyed about going to these events. So even though you may go X9, sure, you know, you at least can, at the end of the day, go out with your friends, or like, even if you're X9 and your friend is X1 or he's XO, he's on the table one, you know, you can still cheer for them, even though you're not having the best of showings.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
and
also
that's
like a cool thing. No.
Yeah. And that's the middling thing I was talking about, you know, like remote fights, no matter how great your remote fight is, you're still just like in your room by yourself, you know, like me and Max are kind of lucky because when we do online events, we usually stream them. And so we have the chat who we can like complain to or celebrate with, which does heighten it up and give us that sense of, you know, camaraderie that we're used to, but not everyone does that, obviously. And so you get this middling effect of the lows don't really feel that low, but the highs don't really feel that high either. And that can be like annoying.
True.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize that a lot of people, they don't even have locals to play with people, you know, like we're kind of privileged that here in like Miami, like we have like 2 or 3 or 4 locals a week where we can get like 16 plus players and always have people to hang out with. But, you know, like on Friday when PPG has their regional or local, whatever you want to call it, I was talking to people and they were like, yeah, I drove X amount of hours from a random state where like we just don't have the local scene to play with people, right? So for those people, it's important that they get an event somewhere to go and enjoy Digimon in person and meet other people that also love that game.
You're absolutely right. I think the furthest I heard someone traveled during pregame was they had come from like Canada. They'd come from a place near Toronto, and I was mind blown. I was, you know, super surprised. I mean, DigiFest was a big thing, and Miami's also, you know, an amazing place to go. So I was like, damn, these guys they killed 2 birds with 1 stone. They went on one heck of a vacation, and they actually were in the top tables at pregame. They were doing really, really well. It was super nice to meet them and see how they were doing.
So I want to give a lot of props to Bandai in a very big thing. So when you look at other card games right now, so you know, no other card game is really putting on events in person and online like Bandai is doing. And when you think about the amount of games they're also putting out, so they have 2 games currently, Dragon Ball and Digimon, and they're about to do a 3rd one, which is One Piece, which is really hyped. Their IPs are just absolutely insane. And when you think about this, you know, it's like and especially with their responses to ban lists, when it's all like written out and detailed, and it's like, we banned this card, like for example, Ice Wall, it worked out as intended, and we banned it just because we do feel it is oppressive to players. When you think about all this, is Bandai just killing it, like in general with like TCGs?
I think they understand what players want, especially like even with the ban list situation, because I think they did a survey about like cards that players thought needed to be addressed, and it seems like the majority of players said things like Ice Wall, Icemon, and Savior. And obviously, when the ban list came out, they got hit. So I think they really do seem to have a really good grasp on what players want, what kind of games they want to play, the IPs that they would like to see made into card games. So it is cool to see that it appears as though they're listening, and I'm excited to see what they do even farther down the line.
Yeah, I feel like Bandai is definitely listening, at least to the competitive players. When I hear people talk about Dragon Ball, their main problem with the game is like the very, very expensive promos. But that's something that Digimon doesn't have to worry with like at all. And even when something might be a problem, like for example, this Sonarisamon, which becomes pretty expensive and hard to get, then they're like, okay, well, here's a way you can get Sonarisamon relatively easily, which is awesome. Or when you look at the promos that we get from like DigiFest, like we get all these like very playable, super good cards that we want to be able to hollow out. Like for example, Toyagumon, Chikurimon, Cordramon, Geogreymon.
Demi-Meramon.
These cards
I think
are like
the Pulsemon was really big too, because that used to be a hard card to get.
So it's like the promos are not expensive, and then the special promos that we get or whatever, they're just ways to get like higher rarity cards, which are good competitively, but you don't need to play the game. So I feel like they're definitely killing it in that regard.
And I also feel like Bandai is doing a really good job of not only trying to focus on the community they do have, they're really trying to focus on growing the community in general. And one thing I want to just like praise them for, because I've never seen this done, but I think it's genius, was the recent rules song they came out with. Did you guys see? So who listened to that banger?
Dude, it got stuck in my head after watching it, and I was like, it's actually kind of a bop. I was like, this is
and then they made those commercials, which I'm like, these are actually funny.
One.
And like, I studied marketing. I'm like, this would work. I like this. This is great. And so, making moves like that is not a thing I think a lot of TCGs actively do right now, because so many of them are so focused on trying just to make the current community they have happy, because what matters is active users. And Bandai's like, oh, we have the active users and we're already taking steps to make them as happy as possible, or as we can, I should say. So let's focus on getting more people in, so that way we can just grow the game and the community as a whole, which I really like. Those are tough steps that take a lot of manpower and a lot of hours out of, a business like Bandai, and to see them do that while also doing all this other stuff is, I think, really cool.
And it was cool because they also did the tutorial thing. I'm not sure if they did it in Texas, but in Miami, they did the tutorial to try and incentivize like people that haven't played Digimon yet to like bring them over and like get current Digimon players to teach them. I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen that before in other tournaments.
It was actually funny. I believe we ran out of DBS players, given how many Dragon Ball players we had. And so I actually couldn't teach anyone. And I'm like, I taught like 97,000 people how to play. I can't teach one more. Weird.
You're the guy that taught everyone that's teaching people, though, so that should say something.
So really, I'm responsible for all of it. Okay.
Exactly.
I'll take it. I'll hold that W. I'll take it.
I think it was
killing it.
Oh my bad. I think it was kind of. Yeah, I think it was also kind of genius the way they kind of did the pickup games. It was like, we want people to sit down and enjoy to play Digimon, and they kind of gave an incentive to do that too. A lot of people did try to savage that situation, but I like that a lot of people took the time to just sit down with like new players and just play the game. And, they got some cool alt arts and promos out of it. But like, day two was just like casual, just like, hey, you want to play? Like, yeah, sure. Played it out.
No, I thought that was super cool. I've never seen anything like that. Especially like at an event like this, you go to a big event and you want to play against, any content creators that you have, or like friends, or just people that you normally don't get the chance to play with because your locals, you play against your locals all the time. Although it sounds crazy, like I'm kind of tired of playing against Lewis. Lewis is the Digi Showdown guy, but we play literally all the time. So getting to play all these new players was really, really cool. And the fact that they incentivized it, like, was, in my opinion, that was just icing on the cake. I would have played those games regardless if they were giving me packs or not. You know what I mean?
1,000%. Yeah.
But the fact that they gave you packs and they were like, oh, like if you just play games, like which you just kind of wanted to do anyways, here you would get a play set of all these cool hollowed out cards. Like that was too OP.
Yeah, I think it's great that they, we have like the very competitive event on day one, and like there's 500 players, only 16 are going to play on day two, right? So it's great that they have something for everyone else to do. Because a lot of times, like, you go to these tournaments and, like, okay, if you lose two real quick and you drop or whatever, like, you might feel like you have nothing else to do. But they did a great job of making sure that, even if you didn't make top 16, which the majority of players didn't, you would still have a great time on day 2.
Yeah, I also like how they structured their pricing. Like online, it's just it's very competitive. The online version that they have, where it's like first and second place mostly just get all the good stuff. But I like how they did first, second, and third, and then it was just like more structured that way with the first, second, and third instead of the first and second. It was more rewarding in person, in my opinion, for that fact. And I just like how they kind of structured their rarity bumps and everything that they did. It was really good just to have those rarity bumps too.
I don't think
they
it's even
had
necessarily.
all the way up to like top 128, right? So I know it's people that were like, oh, I got top 128, and like that's still something they should be proud of.
I don't think it's like just in-person events, like, because I do get what you're saying, but like even going back to like the Evo Cup, you get, I think it was what, top 64 got something, I want to say top 8, and then first and second place, because that's when we got like the Koromon eggs, Evo Cup Agus, we got the Greymons, we got the Award Greymons, and like doing the entire line as tournament prizing, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they've always done like this interesting little tiered like reward system. So even if like you didn't get into like first, second, third, like you didn't get to top 8 or whatnot, you still got like something out of it. And it was always like really nice.
So I have a question for you, Dom and Max. I don't know if it applies to Steven too, but feel free to answer. How was it for you guys commentating like your first like huge, like very professional event, I would say? Because obviously, not throwing shade to any other small events you might have done, but like working a show like this, like an official Bandai event of this caliber, is definitely not the same as, commentating like your local or your regional. So how was it like for you guys doing this for the first time?
Well, Max, you want to go first?
Sure. I was actually, like you said, this was definitely my first massive event and my first in-person event. All the events that I've commentated were, I think the biggest one that I've done was probably a little over 100 when I co-commentated with Sean for a couple of his events. But it was a lot different just because in Miami, we were really trying to go for not leaving a lot of dead air. And I was very grateful for Dom and Lewis, because it was very clear that you guys were like in the zone and could pick up on when I would like stop talking. Because a lot of times I'm sitting there commentating and I almost forget I'm a commentator and I want to like watch this game and see what's going on, and I forget to just like discuss it. But you guys did a phenomenal job like picking up the slack that I was like leaving out. And Dom, like hearing Lewis say this is one of your first major events, that totally surprised me, because the way that you handled yourself was incredible. And like if you told me that you've been doing this for years, I totally would have believed it, because you would like just did a phenomenal job. And I was very fortunate that you guys were my co-commentators. So I'm
thank you so much, Max. Thank you so much. Personally, it's interesting, right? Because as Lewis was saying, I'm not like a Lewis commentator. Lewis is most technically and by definition a professional commentator.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to find like a balance, because I want to be professional and I don't know what like is expected. You get what I'm trying to say as a commentator? Because I've seen commentators that go and they'll be like, all right, I'm attacking with this Digimon. And then they're like, so when this Digimon attacks, then they activate the effect of like this. So like they'll list the whole chain of effects, as opposed to like just kind of discussing the game state and like talking about the game. So it was like difficult to find a balance between like explaining the game and just being like yourself and just kind of enjoying like watching this game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been playing TCGs for a long time, and I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite things to do was like literally I'd be watching a game and I'd be standing there with my friends and we'd kind of just like talk about the game. And that's how it felt like to me. I was just kind of sitting with Lewis or with Max and we were just like, yo, like, what do you think about this game state? This is crazy. Like, look at this little loop. He's about to pop off. Like, poggers in the chat, guys. Like, I really did enjoy that. But it was a huge step up from anything I had done in the past, and excited to see how it continues to go in the future.
Yeah, for the record, I think you guys both did amazing. So really well job.
You all did such a phenomenal job, like Max said. And I just want to briefly add, because I do think I have something to add to this conversation here, is for me, I've been running a show on my Twitch channel and on YouTube for a few years now, but to actually commentate something like this was a pretty novel experience for me. And I just want to give a huge shout out, because this was the part that I found the most surreal and the most enjoyable, was actually working with a production team. You know, my fellow casters, Alex and Ryan, they were amazing. They did a lot of carrying for me whenever I felt nervous, and they were great. And then, of course, like working with people, like we had an actual director, you know, at Texas, who was like telling us to, you know, run the show, giving us, you know, feedback on how we were doing in real time. And that was like a big eye opener for me in terms of how I can, you know, improve a production, make a show better with what I can bring to the table. And that's what I was like trying to focus on the most, was what can I do for this show that helps? Could I do the play-by-play that Yadam was talking about and really paint a picture for people as to how important this move is or what this game state looks like? Or can I just add relief for people when there's some downtime and things are not going well, whether the tournament is slower, whether we're waiting on games to finish, whether we're trying to fix a technical issue, you know, because those arise all the time. What can I do? You know, and having someone there and people there that could help guide me when I was lost on that was something new to me, because normally it's just been me the entire time trying to fix all of these things, and being able to let go of all that really allowed me, I think, to just make a better show overall. And so that was like the best part, was I felt I could do a great show because I had so many great people around me, which was awesome. And
Of
so
course, once you're like, you feel comfortable with the people you're working with and just comfortable in the setting and just, you know, just be yourself at the end of the day. And that's when things like start to shine. But one thing that like shined in my head in terms of like how novice I am to these things was, I was telling Lewis like, oh, we should totally get like player interviews like after the game. And, you know, being naive and all, you know, I thought, what can go wrong? Like, you just get someone up here, they talk about what's going on. But then he was, you know, Lewis, with his experience, he's like, well, remember, this is an official event. And like, what if they come up and say something, you know, inappropriate, and like, how do we, you know, gauge that and that sort of thing. So obviously that's something I've never thought about, but it just shows like the experience that Lewis has.
I actually remember feeling so bad because I was streamed on round 1 for the PPG stream and my game went to time. And so I actually thought you guys wanted to do player interviews. And I'm like, well, now there's no time for you guys to do any, because we got to start the next round. I remember being like, logistically, I think I ruined the part of their stream potentially. I didn't know for sure. So I was like, ooh, anxiety.
You were fine. I was judging the floor, but I kind of wanted to see what you were playing. So I like, even though I was judging, I took a little sneak peek at what was going on. I saw your board with 3 Takuyas and you were playing yellow, and I was like, this guy is gaming. This guy's on the game plan. And then I looked at his opponent and he was playing yellow as well. And I was like, oh God, these guys are going to play for like 60 minutes. Goodbye.
Yeah, Takumi Aiba is a hell of a card. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I got another question for you guys. So if you guys were not at the event, you might not know this, but at one point during the event, the lights went out. So when this happened, what was your guys' reaction, your thoughts? Like, you know, what was going through your mind when the lights went out?
As a part TL, I was like, oh my God, no, what happened? You know, I was freaking out. I was like, we're gonna get roasted, you know. And we saw it in Max's video, which was actually kind of funny to see the recap, which was like, it was in hindsight, it was such a like funny, cool moment. And in the moment, it was just like, damn, what happened? You know, so it was all freak out mode.
I was expecting a lot more sheesh when the lights went off. Not everyone was like so into their game. Like, it was like, it's a big tournament. Like, it was one of the early rounds. People didn't want to lose, but I was expecting once the lights went off, I would just hear like random sheesh, like coming from all the players. But no, it kind of just reminded me of like, I don't know if this ever happened to you guys, when you were like in school or something and like the power just went out and it was just like, what do you do? Like, but as not being a player, I guess like my experience was different. But had I been a player, I guess I would have been like, oh, like, I guess I got to look after my cards or something. Like, who knows? I don't, you know, the
That's
game
what I thought
state.
was-
What if things change? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to assume that my opponent's going to do anything shady, but like, you know, what if like randomly I look back at the board and there's like an Omnimon there and I'm like, wait a minute.
That's what I thought was interesting. Was I thought more people would have been like freaking out and like jumping to the conclusion that their opponent's going to cheat. But I it's almost like a point now that a lot of people consider Digimon like one of the more like, I guess, I don't want to say necessarily trustworthy, but like I think you'd expect to get like cheated less if you're like playing Digimon than you would other card games. And it seemed like people were more comfortable than I thought they were. I thought they would have like been freaking out, but people were like joking about it. Like everyone like almost instantly put their hands up just to like prove that like they're not messing with the board state at all. So I thought that was actually kind of cool to show that they're like, I'm not gonna mess with this at all. So we can like maintain board state like the best way that we possibly can until the lights come back on.
Does anyone know what round the lights went out at?
I think it was round 2.
Yeah, I think
Two
it
or
was
three.
round 2.
So like real talk, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I don't think I even remember the lights going out. So I don't know if that speaks to how quickly it was handled or how much of a non-problem it was. But
It
as
was
someone
only
who
like
played in the
30
event, I don't
seconds.
even think I noticed.
Yeah, it wasn't like more than a minute.
I honestly have no idea what you guys are talking about, and I was there the entire time.
Wait, Steven, what?
like actually, I have no idea. I don't think did the lights go out? I can't
They did,
even think
yeah.
of it.
You
So
know,
again, I
camera
don't know if that
proof.
speaks to me being a dummy or you guys handling it really well. I don't know.
Nah,
But
lights didn't go off. There you go. See, it just never happened. You heard it here.
It was just a guy who accidentally leaned up against the switch, you know, because the light switch was next to the water stations, and the dude like accidentally leaned up against it, and I guess he just like, oh, I don't want to get roasted. You know, it was funny hearing like you mentioned they put their hands up, and then like some guy actually screamed up, "Well, put your hands up, guys! You know, I can't see you, but I, you know."
dude, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Did someone actually yell that? I literally, my brain is probably
Steven's
just
like,
turned
was I even
off.
at this event, bro?
Like I was on 4 hours sleep, and it was like 9 a.m. technically for me during this time, I guess. But I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Oh my goodness.
It was like more into the round, so you were probably like at the bathroom or outside or something.
But I feel like if
you know.
all the lights went out, I would have noticed that too.
No, it was just in the room. It was just in the specific room. It wasn't like
all right. So maybe I wasn't in the room. I honestly don't remember.
You might have,
Yeah.
I guess you might have like finished your game or something, and then probably like we're walking.
I was
around.
playing Yellow
Yellow,
Hybrid, so
yeah.
probably not.
Yeah, true.
That's what
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
But I have
He's like,
no
everyone's like,
idea.
oh, he could have been in the bathroom. I'm like, bro, this guy was playing yellow hybrid with Takumis, bro. There's
Look,
no
look.
way.
I think the moral of the story is either I'm dumb or you guys handled it fine, so it was no big deal.
Hey,
Yeah, I will say like whenever there's a big event, you know, there's always gonna be something that goes wrong. And if you know, like it being a little hot and the lights going out for 30 seconds is the worst that happened, then I think it's fine because like compared to Texas where we had a lot of issues, like PPG did a fantastic job handling Miami.
I mean, the heat was kind of, it was bound to happen. Like when you shove 500 people
Florida, yeah.
into a room,
In
like, you know what
Miami.
I mean? In Miami in and of itself, like it's gonna get a little hot. But I
But
think
all the Canadians that you were talking about, man, they were the ones complaining the most. I'm like,
Oh,
guys,
they-
I feel bad for you, man. I'm coming from Cali. I wore a sweater today too. I was like, it's not that bad.
no,
I literally was like in a full black suit or like sweater. It was crazy.
no, I can handle the heat, but like I looked at some players and they were just like melting, and I was like, God bless, man. But I think at some point, I don't know if you guys, anyone that was watching the stream or something, the stream camera started becoming really, really shaky.
Yeah.
So we got these industrial sized fans, like just everywhere. And for whatever reason, they put one on the stage where the cam was, and it was just shaking the stage. So fortunately enough, we were able to like cool it down. And yeah, although they were like small issues like heat and lights, we like were able to quickly pick up on them and fix them. So yeah, definitely shout out to the TO.
Thank you, guys. One thing I did find myself thinking with the Ultimate Cup coming up, and then hearing Yadam say commentator and judging. How do you feel like with these big events, in the sense of player versus commentator versus judging versus all these other things you can do? How does that like is that ever like a, like for me it is a thinking point, like you know, for Ultimate Cup I said I'm gonna play it out because, you know, I just love the Veeam Online, so I have to compete for them instead of judging that event, no matter how cool like the judge stuff is. But like, you know, you guys commentating is like a big thing for you guys, and then for in person or online, how does it like affect your is it like a big decision for you guys, like when you think about it?
Let me just start off by saying that if Bandai is listening and they need commentators for Ultimate Cup, my inbox is open and I'm always down. But what I will say is the decision usually comes down to this. If it's an option, first of all, I'm usually offered these things. I don't seek them out. I don't go, do you guys need a commentator? Because I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, you're running something. Let me just inject myself in there because I think I can make it better. That's not the kind of confidence I bring to a room. The kind of confidence I bring to a room is if you need me to do a job, I promise you it'll be handled. That's what I could do. So if I have the option of like someone asked me and I have to make the choice now, the choice is usually decided by what do I think will guarantee me the most happiness? It's a very bland utilitarian way of thinking, but the easiest answer is just, will I be happier commentating or will I be happier playing? If I'm enjoying the format, if I think I have a hot deck, if I think I'm going to win, I'll probably really want to play. So I think I'll go with that. But if I don't think I'm feeling that comfortable and that confident in my ability to play and doing well is heavily associated with how much I enjoy an event, maybe I'd be happier commentating. But again, the option needs to be there. I will always instinctively just choose to be a player first because that's the only option I think I normally have. Now, obviously, through my, business or through people reaching out and me doing these, broadcasting gigs, more options might be available and I have to think more and have more decisions made. But for now, it's usually player first. If there is an option, I'll think about it. And it comes down to what I think will give me the best outcome for happiness throughout the entire thing.
I feel like for me, I see myself as a professional commentator first and a for fun player second. And like, I don't want to talk about Shadowverse too much. But for example, in the Shadowverse World Championship, first place gets literally $1 million. And although that's insane, like I'm happy to just commentate the event because I see myself as a commentator. With DigiFest, I'm happy that I was able to go to Texas and play because, obviously I still like playing. It was really enjoyable, but I'm still more happy commentating. And for example, in Ultimate Cup, if they approach me and they're like, hey, would you want to commentate the event? Then I personally would rather commentate than play.
Do you see yourself reaching out and like asking, or if it's like never brought up to you, you're just going to play?
It's something I have to think about because, every game, every company's being handled a bit different, right? So it's hard to say, like, again, I don't want to talk too much about Shadowverse, but like once I started doing Shadowverse, it was just like the company, they know me and they like me and side games like me. And then it's like, I'm the guy, right?
Exactly.
For Bandai and Digimon, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. Like, for example, if they do 2 more DigiFest, let's say it's the same thing, right? PPG is going to host one. Like maybe George likes the way that I handle myself and what I do, but maybe the other guys wouldn't, right? So I guess it depends. But if they ask me, then I would rather commentate. If not, then I'm going to be there playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think Danny brings up a good question because before, like Steven said, I'm a player first. And obviously, I'm not a professional commentator like Lewis, but I do really enjoy the commentating aspect and just like, bringing content to the game that I enjoy. But like Steven was also saying, like we don't have that options because most of these events are run by separate TOs. And if the TO wants to reach out, then of course, like, there's always that opportunity. But playing in these events is also super duper cool. The prizing is amazing. At some point in time, there's also that like inherent thing where you're like, I want to prove that I'm actually good at this game, that I'm not just like making content without like merit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's something that I definitely consider because it's almost like a balance. Because if you only do commentating and then it's almost like they're like, oh, why should we listen to this guy almost? But like, I think DigiFest did a great job in getting their commentators, whether it be for Texas or for Miami, because everybody that they got has, I feel like, topped events where is like an incredible player. Like Steven's top multiple events, Huang's top multiple events, Lewis is top multiple events, and literally just got 3rd place at DigiFest and like is the showdown champion. Like everybody that they got has like knows what they're talking about, and like finding the balance to be like, okay, I've still got it, and like I still understand the game to a point where I can myself top, and then now those are my credentials, so I understand what I'm talking about when I am commentating.
I will also say though that like obviously that's very important. I agree with you, but at the same time, from multiple experiences, just because somebody is a good player at a card game doesn't mean they'll be a good commentator for that game either.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
Or just because you're a good commentator doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be good
Yes.
at the game as well. Like the game I watch that has like most commentary, like a more dedicated commentary section would be like League of Legends, right? So like League of Legends is like a huge game, huge production, and like the commentators are always like the same people, those guys. And I'm not necessarily sure where they rank in terms of like the ladder, but I don't think it necessarily matters. Those guys are really good at what they do. But but I still like, there's a part of me that also wants to be like, I'm not just like a guy that can talk about the game or like analyzing it, but I can also execute. I think Fernando, who I talk about, would talk to about Digimon pretty often with. It's about like finding that X factor, right? So like there's a lot of players that they can be really good pilots, but like when you're in a tournament scenario, like finding those lines to win is oftentimes really hard because of like pressure or whatever, the ice in the veins scenario, you know? So like there's always that you kind of want to prove to yourself. But to fully answer the questions, I feel like I've like super like run around in a circle here. I do enjoy commentating a lot, and if by any chance we get any sort of if I get asked for anything like that, I would definitely be down to commentate these events. I think that the prizing is really cool. I think the events are super, super dope, but I think that's like the most enjoyment that I can get out of it, like Steven put it.
Now, as players, and this might be controversial due to how Digimon started off, I kind of prefer longer formats. Like when you think about the card pool, how it is right now, like when it comes to the creativity of decks, because I'm working a lot more now, you know, since I started working for PBG instead of just being a team member, I kind of just don't have time to like meme around and like try out these different decks. Even though for set 8, I'm trying to do a Mega Zoo deck because like pieces are there. But like, how do you feel about like? I just kind of like the longer formats to be able to actually test stuff now that we have a bigger card pool. Like, how do you feel about that?
I think you have to be careful because certain formats, like I want to say BT5,
BT5.
you
Oh
can
my
start
God,
like
not
people
like
start
this.
to get like, I guess, a little burnt out and they're just like ready for what's next. But there are certain formats like, and I know I wouldn't exactly call BT7 a long format like by any stretch, but like we've seen the format evolve and it's like almost going through phases. Like at first everyone was playing like, I think the top 3 decks. And then we went through a phase where everyone was hype on Cherubimon, and everyone started playing Cherubimon. And now I feel like we're in a phase where everyone's trying out X Antibody. So like in that sense, I like the format to be long enough that everyone can try everything in the card pool. But if we get to like a BT5 thing where it's kind of just like, all right, we've exhausted everything and we're ready for what's next, it can kind of be a little bad.
Yeah, so like what you don't want is a format that's solved right away. And then it's just that for as long as like it is, you know, like I think the problem with BT5 was that we all knew what the best deck was and what was worth playing. And so we only played those and nothing else. And the people that did find really cool, innovative things like Black Turbo Defeat piloted by people like Lychee and myself at certain events, you know, those are awesome decks and they performed crazy, you know, these black toolbox decks that were coming out of nowhere. But people that would pick those decks up go, this deck's really hard and it's not actually that easy. And so it wouldn't grow into a trend because now we have decks that are pretty even in power. And so picking them up, you feel like you can find success with as long as you have a good understanding of the game. But that being said, there is no clear best deck anyways. So what's the point of trying out all these new things? Just pick one deck that you really like and keep grinding with it. And then however long this format is, you're probably going to find adequate success. So you know, I think it's a weird balancing act of we need to have enemies in the format. We need to have things that us like creative, innovative players can target and go, we know we're going to play against this. Let's beat it. Otherwise, we're just going to play it and move on, you know? And then we have these really innovative formats where everything's kind of interesting. Like it's hard to say for sure what is truly the best immediately because of all these changes that happened with the new set, the new ban list, etc. And so figuring out those things in and of itself is a challenge for competitive players and casual players alike. And you'd be surprised what can come out of nowhere and actually prove itself to be really good.
I feel like as long as we don't walk into another BT5 scenario where the delays were crazy, I think it's fine. Like personally, I'm already so excited for BT8.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was the delays that were necessarily the problem. There was like a couple issues that like just stacked together for BT5 for me. Initially back then, like there was very limited ways to play the game, right? Like you had to kind of like ride the line or play Rookie Rush. There was like no really like in between mid range deck. Let me know if I'm wrong, but Lord Nightmon was like super duper crazy, and it just was like, why play any other stack deck when I can just play this one that kind of does a little bit of everything really, really well, has access to like all these good options, or I can just play like Rookie Rush, a deck that just cannot brick, right? There was like those two like mid lanes. I think green kind of like was there as well.
Let's go.
No, definitely green was there, that format, but it just felt like a very difficult format. But as the next format progressed, it wasn't about creating a line anymore. Like now you had other options. You can play like Three Musketeers, which was a deck that was like a little bit game breaking, where it was like, I'm just going to hard drop a 6, or I'm going to just slap a heavy option and just like pass a turn, which often and not like in this game, I don't know about you guys, but like passing a ton of memory has always felt terrible for me. Yeah. Like if I ever have to drop hard drop a level 5, I'm like, I'm going to lose this game.
You didn't play Mega Zoo in set 1 then. Oh,
I did not.
Yeah. Dropping Zudomon turn 1. Oh, baby. That won me an LCS. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, but like after set 1, like again, formats like just perpetually evolved, and it was like you couldn't give too much memory, right? Because like you would be heavily punished in like later formats. Like if you ever like heavy, like if you just drop like a level 5 in BT5 up against Rookie Rush, they're like, dude, that was a cool level 5. So anyways, here's 6 rookies, pass my turn. And then you're just kind of like dead. So it was like a weird little bouncing issue. Then set 6 came out, which allowed like this new form of gameplay. And then like set 7 was like, all right, now we're going to make tamers even more impactful. So like if you don't want to ride the line, you don't even have to play level 6s. I don't care. Play level 5s. The level 5s are OP. Like it's just the game like changed. And then they also introduced mulligans. So like all of these non-games that used to happen, I think Lewis is like a big advocate of like this term, like non-games. Yeah. Just got so much better, because it was like now that mulligans are gone, we've been practicing mulligans for so long that I don't even know how to act. Like, what deck do I like? I'm so serious. I'm like, man, what do I play this week? Am I just gonna have to play Rookie Rush because I don't want to brick? Like, it's so weird to say or think about that, but yeah, all these decks that people like really enjoy. Jessmon. I can't think of another stack deck at this point in time.
Lilith, X Antibody.
I wanted to.
From it.
This is absolutely true. I wanted to play Lilith this week, but I'm like, whoa, if I don't open Eismon, I'm in for a bad time probably. So it's interesting to see like how all these changes kind of affected the game. And this format has just been like super duper fresh in my opinion, because every deck, like Steven was saying, has like equal power level, or it can just be really, really good in the right scenario. So I think Bandai's done an excellent job at that. The only thing I will say though, where was Black's level 5 reduced level 5?
It doesn't actually exist in Digimon lore, so it can't be a card.
I see. That's why. Okay. Makes sense.
The real question is, where is Mercurymon? That's the real question.
Looking for Mercurymon.
The real question is, where is Omedamon? My guy, Metabot's collaboration.
Goodness gracious.
Actually, everyone, name the Digimon you want to see in the card game right now.
That's not in the game. That's not already in the game. Examon.
Not.
See, I would say Examon, but Steven took it, so I'm gonna say Pandamon.
There it is.
I'm gonna say yes.
Oh yeah,
I don't really.
Yadam's a fake Digimon fan.
I like cards.
I haven't watched the show or played any of the games, so I'm just gonna say Pandamon just so Lewis gets his Digimon.
Let's go.
So,
yeah, I'm on that same boat, so I'm not gonna play the game.
But Yadam, I am like you though, where any card game, even if I don't know about it, I will take a look, and if the game entices me, we're good.
Yeah, if the mechanics of the game are good, then I'm like, yeah.
My favorite card game mechanically has always been Luck and Logic, and that's based on some really obscure Japanese, I think, isekai anime that I've never seen.
I've literally never heard of that game.
It's the greatest game I've ever played, and I've played like 12 competitively. It's the greatest one.
Huh.
And it was dead after like a year and a half.
That's really sad. You're like, damn, best game ever.
But it died in English first. It lived in Japan for like another year, but it was a great game.
That's always like a weird thing. Like some games just like are super popular in like the East, but they just like, for whatever reason, we're just like, eh.
And it's not even an IP thing, like Naruto died. And I'm like, bro, that's Naruto.
But I think that died because of like technical difficulties is what I keep hearing.
What do you mean? Like the game failed? Like the game just like problem?
So like so it depends on which one. If you're talking about Chrono Clash or like the OG Naruto.
What's Chrono Clash?
It's the one that
Fair
Bandai,
enough,
I think,
that's-
tested for Digimon.
Yeah, that was literally Digimon's predecessor.
It's
That's the one with
Digimon.
Godzilla, right?
Yeah,
It's with-
it's
yeah.
literally Digimon without evolving.
Huh.
So it was like they used time as like their core mechanic. Instead of memory, they would just call it time. And then they just played it like that. But yeah, no evolves, and the game was like pretty freaking crazy. Like if you were playing,
It was
they had like three sets. And if you played like you couldn't mix the sets, because if not, like shenanigans happened.
Oh, so it was kind of like a deck builder.
Sort of. And like here
Kind
was
of.
the issue with that game. The issue with that game, it was a living card game, which means like when you
Yep.
buy a box, you just have all the access to all the cards. So it like was not incentivizing for players to go and play tournaments, because it was like, what do I win? I already have all the cards. Like, what's the point? It was like super weird. Like, so you would only get like foils of like cards you already had, and that's like if you got like first or something.
No,
But
they
the
had
game-
foils in the boxes. Like every box came with 2 packs.
big sad. I never played it, but I mean, people tried to get me into it. It was like that point in time where like I quit card games, but then like there was this one guy at my shop who was like, bro, this game is crazy. Like, watch me go infinite right now. And I'm like, okay.
Watch me go infinite from opening one box. That sounds sketchy.
No. Not by that's not what I meant. Like he would like he have his deck and he's like, watch this infinite combo I'm about to pull off. Like
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah. That's
It was-
that's kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah, but and then you couldn't mix the sets, because if you mixed Godzilla with ninjas, like you just had like the interactions were too crazy. So like, and then I think at some point like something happened and it was just like, all right, GG.
It was
It's all-
the My Hero thing, because the My Hero set got announced, but apparently they didn't have the Chrono Clash didn't have the rights to the IP in America, so they only got it like in other regions of the world. So then after that, people
Oh.
were like, "Yikes!"
Everyone
Oh,
was
so
like, all
Chrono
right.
Clash was the game, and then it was
Yes,
like a
yes,
Naruto
yes.
expansion.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
That was the first expansion actually. And then
That
it was
makes sense.
Godzilla. It was supposed to be My Hero, and then after My Hero was Gundam, but it didn't even get to Gundam. It was just like GG.
It's gone.
There was an Evangelion in there too.
Oh yeah. And I think that game had a lot of potential, but stuff happens. But the OG Naruto, by my understanding,
The
reason
CCG.
it died.
Hmm.
Yeah, original CCG for Naruto. It was like whoever owned it just lost the rights to it, and it was just GG.
Yikes!
That happened to Panini for Super. Yeah, same thing.
And there was like I knew about that because there was like a card shop down here who like they were like, you know what, forget every other card game. We're gonna heavily invest in Naruto, and they were like the Naruto shop, and then their shop like imploded when Naruto died. And yeah, that was unlucky. That game was super cool. I still have some of the cards.
I can't wait for One Piece either, guys. So
Yeah, bro. I'm gonna be
Hopefully,
playing
it's a
that
good game. If
Usopp
it's a
deck.
good game, if it's a good game, I'll play it.
so I like this
Cheeto.
conversation. So definitely keeping this in. But I kind of figured it out. So when they revealed the cards, and we kind of had some speculation here about the One Piece game, because somebody leaked a screenshot of the app, like the teaching app, like Bandai always does. And you kind of saw like I was about to say Chrono Cross, like a Hearthstone kind of mana type resource system where you would gain a mana. And then I saw the Zoro card come out. They showed the art, and it had at the bottom left of the card, it had an octagon with one of the spaces highlighted. And then the law card had the other space highlighted, but not the first. So what I'm guessing is that's the amount it costs to play. And then you have and it was 6. It was 6 perfectly. So I'm guessing it's going to be like a Hearthstone mana system for use. And like I think that's what they're going with.
So Zoro is the guy with the blade in the mouth
That
Yes.
yes, correct.
who likes to flex on people.
I mean, would it you? If you can master 3 blades at the same time.
Okay, sure.
But I think Bandai just in general has noted that like people like these sort of games that don't require you to have like a mana system within your deck. Right? So like similar to Hearthstone and eventually Chrono Clash and what is now Digimon, like the mana system is in the game. Is input the memory gauge is there, like you gain a memory or a mana piece every single turn, and that's always really nice because one big complaint that I have from people that use like that play these games that have like mana in their deck, it's itself is like, what if I just don't draw it? What happens now? Now I have like these weird non-games. So
At least Dragon Ball, you can choose from your hand what you want it to be, like a land specifically.
mhm.
Yeah, everything is mana in Dragon Ball. Like every card in your deck is also a mana.
Yeah, which is good
Exactly.
for the resource system. It just sucks in the sense of having to lose an important card just to continue on with the play.
But it
But,
makes deck
I mean-
building like complicated. You know, like you play extra
Exactly, that's
copies
the
of cards
intricacy.
purposefully.
Yeah, yeah. So, as I was going to say, we all talked about our favorite Digimons and stuff. So with like we were also talking about like deck building and like the card pools and stuff. It was very interesting to see that we kind of started off the format and like are finishing off the format with decks that weren't originally in Japan. Now, call me out if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing any deck lists about yellow-based Cherubi, red-based green hybrid. So we kind of started off this format just like instantly with like a different meta.
I think it was red green in Japan. 'Cause I remember Huang sending me a list about it.
And they were like blue Cherubi decks, yellow Cherubi decks, red Cherubi decks. Like they tried everything. The reason why you didn't see them long term was because those decks all lost to blue for Ice Wall. So
Mhm.
I can't
we
imagine
got the
any deck.
freedom of like that's not going to happen to us, so people could experiment with these from the get go and not be punished.
Yeah, no, the ban list was huge. I think like nipping Ice Wall in the bud like really stopped a very toxic format. By what I understood, people said like it was one of the roughest formats because of the fact that like I can't imagine the game with 4 Ice Walls. I just actually can't. Like the way that blue is now is still so powerful, but if they can just be like, oh, also choke you to 1, enjoy, pass your turn.
Yeah,
That
so
would
yellow
be-
hybrid was like originally created as like the only deck that could beat the Ice Wall blue deck. That was why it got created. It was never made because they're like, oh, look at this cool thing we can do with Shine Greymont. No, it was by necessity. It was like, I don't want to play blue. I'm gonna play the only deck that can beat it.
Yes.
I mean, like, I feel like blue's really good right now, obviously, but we still have good diversity
Always.
here and there. Like, it's cool to see X Antibody
Always
pop
good.
up, and there's other playable, viable decks out there. So, beat the seventh
Yeah,
round, right?
it's crazy always to see like every format there's more and more viable decks just because of the card pools, and it's like insane. Like black is just like instantly like it's always been kind of playable, but it just took a little bit more testing to kind of figure it out in the past formats, but like Lychee and
Tien.
all these people kind of, yeah, they kind of just showed us like, hey, this is a first place color. It doesn't necessarily need to be. It just kind of shows the pilot and brains behind any color will just overpower the kind of main stigma of like, if you're not playing like blue, you can't win.
No,
really,
I
it's
mean,
stubbornness. Lychee refuses to play anything else, and so he's like, if I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win with black. That's just what happens. It's like, so for him, it's just like I'm just gonna play every tournament with black, and then eventually I'll win one, and that's it. But it's a great mentality.
no, definitely. It is more of an uphill like battle, but I'm pretty sure black just is like a very versatile deck. It kind of just like flips and flops with the format. Like I remember seeing, the Commandramon deck when the deck needs to be a little bit more aggro. There is like the full black blockers when you want to just delete 3 Musketeers from the universe. There is the this new black deck that we're seeing here with X Antibody when you just want to one-shot people. It's a color that like always just does something a little bit different. You never, once they flip a black egg, you're like, that could even be security control for all I know. Like, who knows? Black is super duper cool.
I've always described black as like the ultimate beatdown color. They have so many ways just to keep things in play, and the value they can get out of those things depends on what card it actually is. And there's so many different ones. Like black is like the beatdown toolbox deck of Digimon, I feel.
No, I always tell people black is one of the most diverse colors in the game, in the sense of all they could do and kind of different play styles they can manage.
And next set, we're getting Black War Greymon, who's going to cook all those people that are like, ooh, Hyperdecks are still good, right? No, dunk on them.
Yeah,
It's gonna be great.
delete those.
I definitely look forward to that.
I'm going to be going sicko mode with that. It's going to be so much fun.
It's kind of weird.
Oh,
Like
fair.
everyone's like talking about. So I don't know about you guys, but I try to refrain from looking at the new set till like it's like super duper close. And like from a competitive standpoint, that's 100% trolling. But from the enjoyment standpoint, really, really cool. Because now when these sets come out, you're like, oh, what is this? Oh, sheesh! Like, look at this deck. Like
Yeah,
a kid
so-
in a candy store.
Yeah, for sure. So my mentality when it comes to testing is always when the cards are in my hand, I'll actually worry about it. But
Yeah.
I naturally am like, oh, what's the new set cards going to do? I like knowing that in advance. And like, I'll look at Japanese deck lists and like, what are they doing? But I never seriously test anything until the cards are actually in my hand, because that's when I'm going to be performing and doing anything anyway.
Of course.
I don't want to take away from my testing that I'm currently doing for the current format. So distracting myself with something that isn't actually affecting me just feels ridiculous. So I only do it at a sense of I want to familiarize myself with what I'm going to be expecting to want to play. And then once the cards are actually in my hand and people are actually playing, I'll know for sure, oh, I'm going to play this deck at this tournament. I'll test it for a few days and then we'll figure it out.
I just want to say as a guy, sorry, Luis, I just want to say as a guy who does like looking up future formats, I kind of really love not having to pay $60 for an alt-art VMon.
An altar,
Well,
what now?
A VMon for Armor Rush.
Digimon for Armor Rush.
The anniversary box topper VMon at the beginning of set 6 was like $20, but it is now currently like $50-$60.
Oh, you're like, I'm getting this now so I can use it later.
Yeah, Danny's
Yes.
a classic at doing that sort of stuff. And I'm the classic, like, oh crap, this card's really expensive. Oh well, can't play it.
I'm laughing. I have 2 play sets of the alt art Black Warrior Greymon and the regular art Black Warrior Greymon from set 2 that I bought each for $7 when set 2 came out, or set 1.5. And I'm like, I'll just keep these because I love Black Warrior Greymon. Seeing him spike up to $45 and $80, I'm like, ha, victory.
right.
No sign of Black Warrior Greymon ever coming out. That's always a fun thing about, you know, TCGs and the quote unquote investing. I hate that word for that, but that you can do.
Well, I mean, there's different ways to enjoy like TCGs. I know people that like when you play an MMO, right? Like there's many ways to enjoy an MMO. You can raid, or you can PvP, or you can just collect little like plants and sell them on the market and just enjoy making money. Like I don't know. That's like a thing that I know some of my friends really enjoy doing. Like I don't see it like that, but everyone has their own way of finding fun in like a card game, and investing is like definitely like an aspect of it. But as a player, secondary market needs to come on, guys. Come on, man.
Secondary market for Digimon is usually okay, especially when sets come out. It's when they, you know, hype up stuff that I'm like, guys, this really isn't a thing. Like, why is Diabormon still $75? Let's be real. It should not be $75, but
He looks
it
really
is.
cool.
Yeah, what I was telling Max at DigiFest is that the way I enjoy it is like right now I'll keep up with whatever is currently being out in Japan. Like right now it's BT9. And I'll keep up by like I'm not playing, but like watching videos, maybe play here or there, like very rarely. But then like for example, BT8 is still gonna be fun and fun for me because like when I was looking at BT8, we were playing on like BT5, right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Japan is not one set ahead of us, but like 2 or 3. So like whenever anything new is released or revealed, like I want to look at it and see what's up.
Oh,
But
yeah.
by the time that we actually get it, it's so long from when I initially saw it that when I finally do get it, it's still very, very exciting.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
it's
like,
Black
I
War
forget
Greymon.
type
It's
of
the
thing.
best Black War Greymon being printed. I will go actually sick when it comes out, whether I've been testing it or not.
No, I get you. Like some cards, you're like, wow, that's a really cool card. Like when I saw Magna Guru, I was like, I'm gonna build blue, not because I think blue is the best deck, but holy crap, that card looks amazing. It just so happened to be good, but it is what it is. I think Danny also alluded to this like a couple like questions ago, but like with these formats coming out so fast, I don't know about you guys, but like there's like a concept of like maining a color. Am I crazy in that?
Depends on how you want to enjoy the game.
But like
Yeah,
a lot of people would like say like I'm like I main purple or like I main yellow, and like they really
Yes,
like
sir.
they like tend to like stick to those colors, right? Or I main green,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Like we have Max in the call, man. I think he can speak to that more than like I can. I literally hop between, like I have my favorites and stuff, but I will play whatever I think is best for a tournament.
No, of course, but like I have buddies like my buddy Camilo, that guy just plays red. He just likes the
Yeah,
red
but
mechanic.
sometimes
Like I
he
like,
regrets it, you know.
but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like I like big
Yeah.
hits, and I cannot lie. You know, that's Camilo. That's his whole thing.
I mean, Max knitted me 3 times and still lost. I bet you he regretted that day taking green.
course, of
He's like, I
course.
did everything I could and still lost. What?
I just needed the 4th. I think that's what it
The
was.
4th
I can do it
is-
4
that's-
times. That would have been
Yep.
good.
That would have broken the camel's back right there.
Yeah, that would have been. That's asking a lot, though.
I don't know. I think it's interesting with these like sets coming out so fast that like you don't really get to explore many colors, right? Because like this set, I was like, let me try green. I've never really tried green. Let me go ahead and play some green decks.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like you have to main a color because you don't have time to really test anything else and get the results out of it that warrant whether or not you should continue playing it or not.
True. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Like, and there's also so many like small variations of decks, right? So like for example, like blue, right? You can have Magna blue, you can have like Rush blue, you can have like so many different small variations, or then you can have pure green, Chili's green. Now I saw blue green. Like there's just so many there's just not enough time to play all these decks. But like there's all these decks out there. So people just tend to gravitate to like, oh, what's the one performing the highest? Like I'm just gonna play that. But that like there's so many cool, interesting, and like variable decks out there that I don't know, just don't get the play that they need.
So 2 things. Number 1, it's RGB, red, green, beetle. It's not Chili's green, whatever
Christmas.
that was, you said. It's RGB. We all know this, okay? We've all corrected this. And number 2, a cool thing is if you wanted to, you could play in a remote dual event for Digimon every single day of the week. And you could play a different deck every single day of the week. So I feel like the room of time is there for people that want to commit to playing different colors. And those that don't, they don't for different reasons, whether it's because they think they've already found the best deck for themselves to play and they're not going to bother trying anything else. It could be their collection doesn't allow them to play anything else. It could be their budget is restricting them to only getting certain cards from a new set that they want to build their decks, and they have to like really think about it. And so they commit to that. Or they're diehard fans like Lychee and Max and only play one color for competitive events anyway, unless they get a new love. Like I think Max is currently in love with Jessamon, actually, who's not green.
Yeah.
So I really feel like the avenues of experimentation are there and we are seeing it. But when it comes to bigger events like these, people just go with what they were able to test the most or what they're most comfortable with anyway. And that's where we're not seeing these actual crazinesses that we're actually seeing in like the local level. So at the local level, tons of experimentation all the goddamn time. And people are constantly trying to figure out what works. But then when they're actually trying to perform, they're like, yeah, that was a bad call. So we're just going to go with this.
Well, I don't know about you, Steven, but like at local play, no one is trolling. It feels so weird. Like, let's say you want to try like a fun deck and you come up and you're like, all right, I'm going to have fun today. And everyone's like, all right, blue hybrid, let's go.
Well, you're a PPG, right? You guys are just different, though. Your local scene is insane.
But, at the same
I
time,
know.
like Yadam and Danny can testify to is like I do nothing but play for fun.
Yeah. Like I know Lewis
you guys
plays
play
like
against me.
Magno.
You guys never know what I'm playing, and I always do well anyway. Like you can still just.
I'm
just
Lewis.
wanna
I'm
say-
really, really good.
No, he's a good troll.
Look, I'm
He's a
saying
good
it's
troll.
the-
What are you talking
It's like
about?
the duality of man. Like I've gotten second place at PBG with Leopardmon, and I've gone like X3 at it at nowhere the day after. You know, like it happens, right? But my point is like you can play whatever you want, and like sometimes the reason is not any competitive reason, but just like this is fun, or like I enjoy the game by playing different colors.
No, of course. I'm just like trolling. But yeah. Sometimes, yeah, I'm just messing around. But it just feels like sometimes I'm like trying to have fun, and then like
I mean, our locals is super
our local
tryhard.
legends are
It
just
is.
like giga tryharding, and I'm like, bro, come on, man. Let me just summon this. Let me just hard play this card, man.
Before I do close, I just want to say a few things. Max, I know you just not say that you're at PVG because your locals is actually cracked because you got like 3 Evo Cup Omni holders. You have third place Nats champion. Your locals is the most cracked I've heard of.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
we have like 20 people that come pretty consistently, and 10 of them are like very good players, and the other 10 are like, very casual. Like I just picked up my purple starter deck and I'm running with this. I've been to PVG. Granted, it was only one event and it was right before a major event, but it was what 90 people that day, and every single one of them was like a respectable player. And I'm like, dude, this is just wild. I went in there with Gotcha Green as a joke and just got trampled. And I'm like, dude,
No jokes, Max. No jokes allowed.
yeah.
And then I was gonna piggyback off something Steven said, but I forgot where I wanted to go with that statement. So I'm just gonna like kind of jump into unless I remember later on closing statements. Like I do want to say, as the first podcast, you know, it was amazing to have you guys here. It's amazing to talk about this game that you know, just tidal waved into one of the top spots a year ago, you know, and it's continued to grow, and we're going to see more big things, you know, hitting these levels of attendance in like in person and online. And what Steven said, you can literally play it any day of the week. It is also crazy that you could literally find somewhere on Discord to play tournaments literally every day of the week, which is amazing as well. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for being so great in the pioneering and the continual growth of this game. And we could hopefully see more huge things in the future, which we will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Danny, for having us. And honestly, it's been an honor to be on the first inaugural podcast with you guys. You guys are all legends, and it was great to meet you guys last weekend. It was really, really nice.
Thank you for the Jessamon. I appreciate it.
Hey, that's true. That's true.
After going through both DigiFest, the feeling that I get at the end of the day is that I love Digimon, man, and I'm happy we have this game to play.
Absolutely.
Someone needs
I
to
do have one
soundbite that.
question. So this is the Royal Knights podcast. Does that mean we all get to be like assigned a Royal Knight? If so, can I get Dynasmon?
Ooh, that's a cool one to pick.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Magnamon tryhard, so I'll be Magnamon for today.
I'm gonna assume Max is gonna take Jess,
I mean, if I have to, that's fine.
if you will. And just because of a lack of knowledge, I guess I'll be Lord Nightmon. So, and no memes, but just leave it at that.
I'll take Examon.
Not
Oh, dang, there was other
Leopardmon.
ones?
Come on.
Wait, is Alphamon? Is Alphamon a
failed yourself.
Nightmon?
Yes, he is.
Alphamon is
All right, I'll be
another
Alphamon. There you go. I'll be Alphamon. That guy's cool.
Man, basic people up in here. But anyway, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on,
Yeah,
Danny.
thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Until next time, we won't be doing these weekly, just for scheduling with different players and personalities. You know, hopefully, Luis, I know he's one of your friends, so hopefully soon we can get a different fight on here, since it was cool to see a big Vanguard guy commentating Digimon, and I do love Vanguard, so I kind of want to pick his brain about that too. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Until next time I see you guys in person or play against you online, and all you guys watching and hearing us, thank you. See you next time.